Evening, fellers. By any chance, have any of you gentlemen seen the video Numa Numa Dance?
So, I'm doing a tier list. I know I'm a little late to the party, but where am I?
That's unique.
Imminent lawsuits aside, I've been wanting to do one of these tier lists, power rankings, whatever you want to call them, for a while now. Because I just think it's an interesting way to get your opinions about large groups of things out there in a very simple and easy to digest way. I typically prefer to spend large amounts of time talking about what I think about each individual engineer weapon in TF2, and I don't plan on stopping doing that anytime soon. But I guess you could consider this list a condensed version of what is currently an incomplete playlist of every weapon review that I've done or I am planning on doing. And one more thing before we jump into it, this is 100% my opinion, completely based on my own experiences using these weapons, and the placements that I'm giving them are all relative to each other. What I mean by that is that just because I rate something as belonging in the S tier, that doesn't mean that the weapon is the greatest thing in TF2. It just means that I regard it as the best among its peers. Make sense? No? Perfect, let's start. All right, going up from the bottom, starting with the D tier. What's D stand for? It stands for doo-doo. So, of course, the Pompsin is going down here. Why is the Pompsin such a bad weapon? Well, it's not that it's ineffective, because it can get you some kills, and it definitely can disrupt the enemy quite a bit, especially the spies and medics who are getting their entire class roll chipped away at constantly. It's a doo-doo weapon because it's a perfect example, in my mind, of a bad weapon design, especially in a game like TF2. In my opinion, there's two main things that you got to take into consideration when you're designing a weapon. A, is the gun fun to shoot? And B, is the gun fun to get shot against? The Pompsin is neither of those things. First of all, shooting the Pompsin is not very fun. It feels like you're fighting a weapon more than you're fighting the enemy team. The projectile moves so slowly that hitting anything at long range pretty much just comes down to luck, and hitting anything close range will just make you wish that you had equipped any other shotgun instead. It's honestly, I think that it's honestly easier to hit someone with a rescue ranger at long range than it is to hit someone with the Pompsin at long range, and you're not even supposed to be shooting players with the rescue ranger. So yeah, the Pompsin, it's not only a pain in the ass to shoot, it's a pain in the ass to fight against, since you can almost never see the projectile coming, which again makes the successful connects feel more luck-based than anything. And it actively picks at two main classes' abilities, which wouldn't be a terrible stat if the projectile took more skill to use, so it wouldn't feel like you're just getting punished for no reason whenever you do get hit by it. So yeah, you combine everything that I just said with the fact that the Pompsin's model conflicts with the art style in such an obnoxious way, which overall I don't really have much of a problem with, but it's still worth mentioning that it definitely stands out and not in a good way. So yeah, bad weapon, bad design, bad look, basically. D tier for the Pompsin. This is my official verdict. In fact, the D tier is reserved for the Pompsin only, believe it or not, because the next weapon I'm going to place is the Panic Attack, which I will put in C. C stands for cool, I guess. Yeah, the Panic Attack has, it's undergone so many different designs since it was first added. I've made 2 different videos about this thing, and they're now both outdated. I'm almost paranoid at this point that if I make a 3rd video, they're just going to make it shoot rockets or something. The Panic Attack, I mean, it used to be a good engineer weapon. It actually was a lot of fun to use, and it was pretty effective when you played in a very specific way. But ever since the most recent change, they've turned it into, they've turned it from a multi-class shotgun that was really only viable to use on one class into a multi-class shotgun that's only really viable to use on 2 classes now. So overall, it's a buff, right? Epic win. Whoa, epic win. But when it comes to the engineer being able to switch to your shotgun, it's not nearly as useful as being able to load up a big bullet sneeze, in my opinion, so it's not really an engineer shotgun anymore. You know, unlike the other 3 classes who use the Panic Attack, the engineer uses his shotgun as a primary weapon, and there aren't really any good combos that the engineer can pull off with it, so the switch speed doesn't exactly come in handy most of the time, unless you're in a really frantic situation where you're healing your sentry and then you gotta start shooting at something and then you gotta start firing your short circuit. I mean, I'm sure that if I played with the panic attack more in its current iteration, I'd probably eventually just end up bumping it up, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just still salty that they took away my bazooka shotgun, you know? All right, next up in the C tier is the Southern Hospitality, a wrench that is definitely not bad, but it's definitely not fun either. If you watch the video I made, you can get the full scoop, but basically, the Southern Hospitality, in my opinion, is just so boring. It's got one mediocre upside and one mediocre downside, and you can't get random crits with it, and everybody knows that it's not even worth playing TF2 if you can't do 195 damage to somebody in one hit for no reason. I just think it's an uninspired weapon. Which is a shame because I think it looks pretty cool visually, right? But until they finally decide to spice up the way it works, it's a clearance level C type of wrench for me. All right, moving on up the ladder to the middle of the bell curve here, right on into the B tier. B standing for better than C tier. Generally, this is where I'd put weapons that I think are just pretty good. I don't really have much else to say about most of these other than, nice, neat. I like it. So we're probably going to end up getting through the B ones a little faster here. Starting with the stock wrench. Yes, the stock wrench is the poster child for a pretty damn good engineer weapon that you just generally can't really go wrong with. Really, it gets the job done, and there's literally no upside or downside to it. It's a stock weapon. Yet, fucking, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about the stock wrench. So we'll just solidify it as it's got a spot in the B section. So let's move along. The Frontier Justice. It's a really fun weapon to use, but obviously it's only really good when you use it correctly. And what I mean by that is that the enemy team has to either have the awareness of a mole or not know what a sentry gun does. What I'm trying to say is that the Frontier Justice it's only good if you can trick the enemy into dying to your sentry gun, which isn't really up to you. But hey, sometimes it works, which makes the FJ a BG, a B gun. The next B gun is the Widowmaker, which the Widowmaker is a personal favorite of mine, but only on very specific maps, mind you. What maps, you ask? The ones where I can get really, really close to the people I want to shoot. The thing about the Widowmaker is that it requires you to revolve your entire playstyle around if you have metal or not, which can sometimes be irritating if all you want to do is shoot people and not worry about anything else. But there is something about the Widowmaker that does make you want to shoot people and not worry about anything else. So there's that. And when we are able to do exactly that, the Widowmaker is a ton of fun, and it's honestly one of my favorite guns to play with. However, you cannot chip shot people with it. You cannot spend all of your metal on buildings when you have it equipped, and you cannot miss. And I'm definitely going to be doing all of those things, especially the last one. So it's a B tier weapon for me. Next up, we got the Rescue Ranger, which is, that's probably my favorite weapon in the entire game, just from, a role-defining standpoint. I'd say the Rescue Ranger single-handedly unglues the defensive engineer from his nest, and it allows him to safely walk around without sacrificing the longevity of his buildings at the cost of his own self-defensive capabilities, which is a great concept. I love how the gun allows you to get your buildings out of or into sticky situations, which is really fun to do. I think my only complaint is that it's a little too powerful on last points because you can just easily abuse it by standing in spawn and just removing yourself from all danger while keeping your gun alive. But other than that, the Rescue Ranger, it definitely remains a very B tier weapon in my eyes. Next up, we got the Short Circuit, another B tier gun. Very, very useful for protecting yourself, your team, all of the cool stuff that you built from a few stickies or rockets coming your way. Pretty much validates the soldier versus engineer or demo versus NG one-on-one fights, which I really appreciate. The only thing I don't like about it at this point is that it's really, really easy to abuse on payload carts, something that I actually didn't really start to realize until I played in competitive No Restriction 6s pretty recently. Video coming up about that very soon. But I also really don't like that it's not this next thing, the pistol. which is the last weapon I'm going to be putting up in the B tier because I think it's just a solid secondary for the engineer. A lot of people might think I'm joking when I mention that the fact that it has a 200 metal ammo reserve being one of the main reasons why I like this thing. But I'm not kidding. Don't laugh. Stop. Having so much ammo, like basically it's an unlimited amount, really. It makes the pistol a very reliable medium range spam weapon that you can just use to pick off people from a distance, or I like to soften people up a little bit before I get within shotgun meat shot range, if that makes sense. To be honest, a lot of the time that I use the pistol, I'm constantly firing it at everything, but just because I can. So yeah, overall, it's just a really reliable gun to equip if you're planning on ending some lives at your own hand rather than your sentries. So yeah, it's going to be sitting right here in B. But just like that, we are already out of the B lane and we're getting into the good shit, brother. The A tier is what we're looking at now. And the A tier stands for amazing, or awesome, or all-star weapon. It stands for all of that. The Eureka effect goes in A just because it's so damn useful, man. I'm not afraid to admit I use the Eureka effect more than the stock wrench these days because it just has a really very good utility during setup period. And yes, I'm talking about the Jag effect rollout. You get straight up cheaper teleporters just by equipping the darn thing, and you get to keep that discount even after you switch to a different wrench, which is great. And it's just an interesting concept in general. It allows you to pretty much set up your nest in spots where there might not normally be a nest due to the lack of good metal packs. In fact, it just frees you from even relying on metal packs at all, which is a great thing on a team of teammates who like to steal them from you all the time. It's just a great wrench. I think my only complaint is that it doesn't have a strange variant. It belongs in A. My other A tier weapon is going to be the good old stock shotgun. The boomstick, this thing, it's just a good gun, bro. It does damage. It just does, okay? It just does. You use it to shoot, and people die when you kill them. I can't think of an interesting pitch for why I'm actually putting the stock shotty in A tier. I just really like using it a lot. Unlike every other primary for the engineer, I don't feel like I have to adjust my play style in any specific way to use it effectively, and I can just aim and fire. And when you're playing a class where you have to think about like 10 different things at once, sometimes it's just a breath of fresh air to think about just shooting stuff, and the shotgun allows you to do that. So now this is where we're getting into the territory that I like to call S tier. That's just what I like to call it, and I like to call it that because that's what it's called. And as you can see right there on the screen, it's called S tier. In this case, S stands for whatever you want it to be. Completely open to your interpretation. But the word that I use to describe the weapon in this tier is it's in a language that no one on Earth understands because it's just so advanced. But basically, it translates to roughly to like the top tier kind of weapon, if that makes sense. But you guys can see what's left. So I'll just start with the gunslinger because it's just so good. The battle engineer subclass is just so good. Being fast is good. I think that's the main thing that I like about the gunslinger. Its cost and its personal responsibility is low impact, but its effect on area denial is high impact. I kind of want to talk about that. Sentry guns in general, I think, are pretty overrated. Area denial is something that every class more or less participates in, yeah, but the engineer just excels at it more than anyone else. And often, what keep enemy teammates out of an area is the threat of getting poked by a sentry a little too hard and then dying pathetically. So if you can just keep putting a sentry gun down, any kind of sentry gun, on the map very quickly and very often, I think it's almost as powerful, if not more so, than just straight up maintaining a level 3 sentry gun in most situations. And so yeah, that's generally that's pretty much why I just consider the gunslinger to be an S tier engineer weapon. All right, so sue me. No, don't do that. Okay, I know that I just talked about how like level 3 sentries are dead and don't use them. No, just don't write them off just yet, because guys, the next one in my S tier has something to say about that, and that is the Jag. Yeah. Now, Do you guys remember by any chance, like 30 seconds ago, when I was talking about how like fast is good? Well, guess what? The Jag is fast at everything that the wrench does. It's fast at building. It's fast at repairing. It's fast at upgrading. Everything. Its only Achilles heel is that it's not able to tank damage as well as its counterparts. But it's very, very easy to circumvent that, as you can probably see by the future placement of that remaining weapon over there. That little guy. He's patiently waited this whole time, but it's coming. The Jag is just the best at doing what should be the majority of what you're going to be focused on as engineer when it comes to your buildings, and that is building them. What? Yeah, you gotta build your buildings. It makes sense. It's in the name. Even after they made the Jag weaker against biceppers, I still think that it's the best wrench right now, and I'm fine with that. Long live the Jag. Let's go. And then the Wrangler goes to the very top of S tier. Probably comes as no surprise to anyone, as I've already publicly said that I think it's the engineer's best weapon overall. My most recent weapon video was specifically about the details of that opinion, just in case you want to check that out. But as a summary, the Wrangler is the perfect tool for anybody who has built a sentry gun on the map. And what engineer is not doing that? You can use it to focus fire enemies. You can use it to jump around. You can use it to damage people who are out of your sentry's range. Those things sound great. That's just everything that's on the offensive side of things. The defensive capabilities of the Wrangler are straight up overpowered and turns the engineer sentry gun into a damage sponge with virtually no effort. So it's truly just an amazing unlock for a lot of good reasons, but a lot of bad reasons too. But while it's still in its current state, I'm definitely going to be putting it at the very tippy top of my tier list. That is all of the engineer's weapons sorted by how good I think they are. And again, friendly reminder that this list was generated by me and according to my opinion, based on my experience, and every weapon was placed relative to its peers. I really appreciate you guys watching. I'd like to mention the sponsor now, Dollar Shave Club. Very, very proud to be partnered with Dollar Shave Club once again. And I know what you guys are going to say down there. It's going to be, are you seriously going to promote Dollar Shave Club? You obviously haven't even shaved since 1995. Well, guess what? Faceless YouTube comment below this video. They don't just have they don't have just shave stuff, okay? They've got shower supplies. They've got deodorants, things for your oral. They got oral care. Right now they have an offer where you can get their shave, shower, or oral set, each of them for only $5 each. The shave one has an executive razor and 3 1-ounce tubes of their Dr. Carver shave products, such as the Prep Scrub, Shave Butter, and the Post Shave Dew. Their oral type has a high-quality toothbrush and a trial-sized version of their toothpaste. And the shower set has 3 mini tubes of Amber Lavender Body Cleanser, Citrus and Hawaiian Ginger Face Cleanser, and the Sage and Black Pepper Shampoo. I personally like to shave butter. I use it on my bald head. Anyway, if you go down to the link down in my description, aka the dollarshaveclub.UncleDane link, you can pick one of those starter sets to be delivered right to your doorstep for only $5. Again, I appreciate the support you guys have shown by using my link. All right, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you nieces and nephews next time. Bye-bye.